So this last Memorial Day, I shot somebody. I made a video about this before, but it had a lot of legal work and stuff in it, and it wasn't the story of actually, what went down that night. So picture this: I had been staying at a campground for almost 2 weeks, and I get off work around 5 o'clock. I'm running my construction company, so I'm in my diesel truck, and I have a tent and like a ladder and a kayak and some tools and stuff at this campsite next to my tent. So I get off work around 5:30, 6 o'clock or something like that, and I go and I change, I get into some clean clothes, and then I go out and I get some fast food, and then I sit in a parking lot and get a snow cone and play a video game with a couple friends online. And after that, it was probably, I don't know, 9:30, 10 o'clock. It was a little late at night, and I needed to work the next morning. I was going to be up at 5 to go to the gym and to go work out and to go to work. So I get back to the campground, and there is, I don't know how to explain this. So this is the site that it happened at, okay? So what we can see is my truck ended up parked here when I shot, and then there's 4 parking spots, and this is my campsite and my campsite number. Okay, so this is right at the end of this truck, between this tree and my truck, is where this all happened, where I actually shot the guy. Well, so I pull up, and it's late at night, and I get off work, and I pull up, and I park my truck like this right here. There's nowhere else to park. All the parking's full. It's Memorial weekend. It's busy as hell. There's literally nowhere to park, okay? So I park behind these cars right here like this, and then I get out of my truck, and I walk around. I ask people if they know who's parked in my campsite. I walk over here. I ask people if they're parked in my campsite. They tell me no. So I leave my truck parked here, and I walk all the way over here, and I take a shower, and then I come all the way back, and I start asking around again. I go, do you have any, do you know who's parked in my campsite? Do you know who's parked in my campsite? I'd like to go to bed, blah, blah, blah. Nobody will answer me. Fine. I leave my truck parked like this in front of these 3 vehicles. I get my tent. I lay down for about 5 minutes, and then these people over here, they come walking up, and they start hollering, who's the dumbass who parked behind my car, and blah, 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 blah. On and on they go. So they are parked here, this third spot in. So then I back my truck up as far back as I can go, because there's like a water spigot and some shit over here. As far back as I can go, so these 2 spots are the only ones that I'm now blocked. Okay? So he goes meandering off back to his tent. He's satisfied. So then I go back to bed, and I wake up to more commotion, and people are yelling and screaming over here, talking about the dumbass in the white truck, blah, blah, blah. So I get out of my fucking tent again, and I walk over here, and I talk to these people. I talk to this man, parked right here, and he tells me that he is going to bed for the night, and that he's staying here for the night, and I told him, okay, well, I'm leaving at 5 in the morning, can that wait then? Like, is that going to be okay? So I go ahead and go back to my tent, and I go to sleep again. So I go back to bed. I'm in there for a couple minutes, and then, so this is where the road and stuff is. I see headlights shining, parked right at the base of my tent, like right there. They were shining on and I got scared. I thought these people had got mad, and they came to jump me, like right in my tent, man. I grabbed my pistol, and I jumped out of my tent, and I'm like, what the fuck? And it turns out that this was just the guy that worked there, the camp manager. And he goes, hey, well, I need you to move your truck. And I go, well, man, I really can't do that. And I'm like, I'm parked right here. I'm like, I don't want to move. Like, they're parked in my camp spots, and make one of them move, because this guy was the guy that got shot, and the guy that got mad. So he's like, well, you need to move. And I said, well, I'm not going to move. And he says, well, I'm not asking, I'm telling you. I said, fine. So I grabbed all my shit. First, I moved my truck to here. So I guess my headlights were actually pointing this direction. So my headlights were pointing this way. And so you can see, I load all the stuff up in the bed of my pickup truck. I load it all up. And then there's this guy here. I think there was like at least 3 or 4 of them, and then a girlfriend. And they were all sitting here arguing with me while I'm up in my truck bed strapping some stuff down. Well, the guy comes and puts his arms on my tailgate, this guy Scott, and he goes, I need you to move your truck. And I said, bro, I'm literally leaving right now. Like, what do you want? And he's like, well, I think that you hit my car when you were tearing your tent and your shit out of there. They say, no, I didn't hit your car. I'm like, did you go look at it? Because my truck was pointed this direction. So like the headlights were on his car. And I'm like, did you go look at your car? And he goes, yeah. And I said, well, did you see any damage? And he goes, no, I didn't see any damage. And I go, so then leave me alone. I'm like, I'm leaving. I'm like, you get to stay parked in my parking spot and I'm going to go. And he's like, you don't have to be such a dick. And I'm like, you don't have to be such a faggot. And we got in this argument back and forth. So finally I jumped down right here and I go, what are you going to do about it? Like, what are you going to do? I'm like, I'm literally leaving. You got what you want. And he goes, I'm not going to do anything. I say, fucking great. So then we walk around to the bed of my truck, okay? So I'm standing here, strapping a ratchet strap in my truck, and Scott moves, and he's standing here. His girlfriend is standing here, and these guys, they all come around and surround me. And this tree is here, my truck is here, and now there's people everywhere. Kind of back out. So I'm stuck. I'm like in this circle. This is me. I'm just fucking stuck here by myself, surrounded by these people. And I'm arguing with Scott back and forth, and these people are trying to argue with me. And finally I turn around and I scream. I'm like, I'm leaving. Leave me alone. I say, I'm leaving. I'm like, I'm leaving. I'm leaving. Because I could see, I could feel it. You know what I mean? I knew that they were going to attack me. So I'm sitting there, and Scott, he puts his foot on my foot, and he gets real close to my face, and he goes, I'm like, you need to leave. I'm leaving. And he goes, I don't need to leave. He's like, I'm not going to leave. And I said, I'm leaving. Why aren't you going to leave? He's like, well, what are you going to do about it? And we got into this back and forth of, what are you going to do about it? I'm not going to do nothing. What are you going to do about it? And finally, this guy back in here, one of these two people, starts yelling at me really loud. And I turn around and we start talking back and forth and arguing back and forth about some bullshit I don't even remember. It was so stupid, like they were so fucking drunk. And finally, while I'm facing these guys, Scott jumps around my neck and puts me in a chokehold, and we start fighting right here at the bed of my truck. And these people start moving in towards me. Well, so the guy's got me bent over, his arms like around my neck. This arm is wrapped around his back, and we're fighting like we're going up and down, and he's trying to choke me out and pull me to the ground. And I had my gun in my pocket, and I pulled it out, I shoved it into his side, and man, dude, when I tell you, it clicked. It went click, 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 because it was out of battery. If I click, I probably pulled the trigger 4 times before it finally went off. Click, 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 we're click, 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 pop. And man, when I tell you, that fucking guy dropped like a sack of potatoes. Boy, did that 40 cal hollow point do its fucking job, because it got him right the fuck off me. I've never, aside from somebody like having a seizure, I've never felt somebody just limp that bad. It's really regrettable that I had to shoot him, but at the end of the day, he wouldn't leave me alone. He tried to jump me with his friends, and then he got shot. His girlfriend didn't get shot, his friends didn't get shot, and nobody else that wasn't actively and physically assaulting me, nobody else got hurt except for him. I didn't get hurt, nobody else got hurt. I mean, isn't that exactly what the Second Amendment is for? And isn't that exactly the kind of behavior that's protected? Leave that up to you.